Have you ever dialed the wrong number only for it to turn into an awkward conversation?
Let me tell you a story. All right, so we've all had times where we've dialed the wrong number or maybe gotten a call from somebody else who had dialed the wrong number. And unfortunately, this is the case of something that happened to me when I was about 8 to 10 years old. This story gets very awkward. So when I was a little kid, my mom and dad had an arrangement where I would spend the weekends with my dad and I would spend the week with my mom. And so it just so happens that on this certain Friday, I found out that my dad was not coming to pick me up, that I was not going to his house for the weekend. So that made me upset. So I started crying. Okay. So while I'm crying, I decide I'm going to call my dad. I'm going to find out why. I'm going to find out why I'm not going over there. So pick up the phone and I call my dad. And a guy answers. He says, hello. And the first thing I do without hesitation, crying and everything, is I say, Dad, why aren't you going to pick me up this weekend? I really wanted to see you. And the guy on the phone just says, huh? Right? So didn't catch me off guard or anything just yet, so I just continued. I said, Dad, I love you. I really wanted to see you this weekend. Why aren't you coming to pick me up? And just kept on crying and all this stuff. And the guy just... What? It was a bunch of mumbo jumbo stuff because I was crying, but it was also back when I was like 8 to 10 years old, man. Come on. I don't remember back then fully. But so I'm like crying and bawling and just begging this guy to tell me why he's not coming to pick me up, because I thought it was my dad. So after about 2 or 3 minutes of me crying and pleading and wondering why my dad's not coming to pick me up, he gets really silent on the phone. And I say, Dad, because I want to know my dad's not talking to me now. And I hear this guy just simply say, I'm sorry, I'm not your dad. I said, what? Because at that point, I still thought I was talking to my dad, so I got kind of crushed because I was like, my dad's disowning me now. At first, he didn't want to come pick me up for the weekend, and now he's just disowning me. And so I said, what? And the guy was like, I'm sorry, I think you got the wrong number. And so as awkward as it was, I said, oh, I'm sorry. Bye.
Still crying?
Still crying the whole time, and hung up the phone. And that was my awkward phone call. So here's the thing, though. I didn't ever call my dad that evening because, one, I was still upset, though, because he wasn't coming to pick me up. But I was kind of embarrassed because I just called this complete stranger who was not my dad and talked to him like he was my dad, crying and everything, okay? And I also didn't want to call my dad because I kind of wasted all that emotion that I wanted to come out on the phone with him, with this random guy.
So you're just like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, because, in the moment, I also didn't want to try again and get somebody else and start calling somebody else dad.
That would have been so bad. The second time they were, you still have the wrong number, son. Sorry.
Why do you call me son if it's the wrong number?
I mean, some people in the South like to call people son.
You got the wrong number, boy. All right, but there's also been this question, and this situation in the back of my mind is like, how horrible would it be if that guy was married, right? They didn't have kids or anything, but for some reason, he had me on speakerphone where his wife could hear me, and she's hearing this kid screaming, Dad. And he's just like, I'm not your dad. But she's kind of getting worked up, wanting to know why there's a kid on the phone crying and asking for his daddy. And they ain't got no kids. So if you're a guy out there that had this happen to you, and I was the one I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause any trouble between you and your wife, girlfriend, or whatever. And
so not only did you call the wrong person, but now you've concocted entire backstory at 8 years old, you said?
It's about 8 to 10, somewhere between there.
Of ruining somebody's marriage.
Backstory. Think about it. If me and you were sitting here and somebody called me and was wanting a dad, and you heard that, wouldn't you have some questions too?
I mean, I I would probably assume it was the wrong number, not think you've got this secret son somewhere and you're just trying to hide it. I mean,
hey, you never know. You never know,
but that's kind of outlandish. And
Either
especially
way.
at 8 years old to be like, I might have just ruined somebody's marriage.
I didn't think about it when I was 8 years old. I thought about it a little bit older. I was like, that was really awkward for me. I can only imagine how awkward it was for him and possibly his wife/girlfriend. Not like if he had a wife and a girlfriend at the same time and they were two separate people and the same. I'm saying like if he wasn't married.
Okay.
All right. So yes, that is my awkward phone conversation call, and I called the wrong number on. Moral of the story: just make sure that you're dialing the right number when you're going to have a deep conversation like that, especially before you start crying. Okay. So.
Probably be a good idea.
Yes.
So if any of you guys have any stories like this, comment down below and share your funny wrong number story with us. Maybe it'll get featured if you're up for that. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys for visiting.
Always check the number before you dial it.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.